Hi, patrons. Hi, people that waited a year. Here we are again. 3 beers. Shotgunned. Yep. Here we go again. It's going to be the same sounds that I made last week and the week before, but more of them. But that's what you wanted, and who am I to question the will of the people? You do know I can see who voted for what, right? I'm not sure. Somebody told me that might be a human rights violation. I don't know. I'm not the one who runs Patreon. Anyway, got to think of an opening line. Oh, yeah, I noticed there was a mistake in my script. I'm actually going to fix that right now. And I'm going to make sure that the rest of it updated because, yeah, we had some issues there. Okay, we're good. Time to think of an opening line. Well. Really? Again? We're doing this again. What do you get out of this? Like, what's in it for you? I'm just curious. And this is where the theme song goes. I keep the waveform nice and flat so I can tell. If you watch just the video version, which some people do, you don't get to hear the theme song, which is new. But you don't get to hear it because this is the raw footage. Okay. Good talk. You're listening to Fix My Carcast, hosted by Bear Claw Billy, and this is episode 123. Comedian and musician Keith Hebert is switching out 3 kegs. But first, I knocked in the wrong spot. But first, housekeeping. This is the show where you pick what I say and how I say it. Pick a topic or prompt by donating to the GoFundMe, and vote on the gimmick by joining my Patreon for just $1 a month. Join at the $5 or higher level and also get bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes footage. Links are in the description. Also down there, merch. Get yourself some merch. You know, you're basically ruining my Franklin Pierce t-shirt. So buy me one of my own shirts because I keep soaking it with beer and it's starting to make me upset. We have a new donor this week. Thank you, Chad, for donating $50. Great job, Chad. The total raised for paying off my car repair debt is now $2,250. Also, when we get to $3,000, it unlocks an automatic show gimmick, which is I will record an episode at sea. Fun fact, did you know that this whole podcast disappears when we hit $10,000? Let's bounce. This party's lame thrice, bro. You may have noticed we have a new theme song. Because Chad donated $50, he got to change one thing about it, and he asked me to keep it exactly the same, but replace the name Cathalak with Garbuta, presumably also a lake monster god. If you're keeping score, there are now 3 deities, Cathalak, Koalamos, and now Garbuta, battling for dominance in this podcast's theme song. I love this show. Hey, do you like the theme song? No? Well, if you make a donation of $50 or more, in addition to picking an episode topic, you get to change one thing about the theme song forever, unless somebody else changes it back. And that may happen next week? Want me to break out a little cover of 3 Wonderwalls? Well, legally I can't, but want me to make it sound like 3 Oasises? $50. It's been really easy on the writing lately. Also, if you would like to own the painting I made in episode 118, I'll be giving it away to the next person who donates $100 or more. That's right, own a piece of Fix My Carcast history. While you still can. Think about it. No new patrons this week. Bummer. Now it's time for a topic suggestion. I'll suggest topics I think I could easily talk about for a whole episode, though admittedly I think the show is more fun when it's something I'm completely clueless about. So, something I could talk about is my stance on the over-under toilet paper roll debate. My take may surprise you. Want to know more? Donate today. Checking in on the best city in the world based on which city listened to the last episode the most, and we've got us another singles night tie. Ties are broken by whichever city listened to the most episodes, and our big winner is Westbrook, Maine. Congratulations, Westbrook, Maine. Let it be known that your 3 Faber colleges, 3 Grand Lake universities, and 3 Blue Mountain states are the best in the world for 7 days. Last episode, I talked about the album Desperate Times, Desperate Measures by Adult Girl while shotgunning 2 beers. You can see video of all the raw footage, plus a little extra, over on Patreon. Also, head over to Patreon for a bonus episode where I talk about some really great mystery movies. In that the films themselves are mysteries, not that what they are is a mystery. Just so you know, they're all mysteries. All right. Let's talk next week's gimmick poll. You ready? You ready for this one? Are you really ready? Do you think you know what's about to happen? Do you think you're ready for next week's gimmick poll? Okay. These are your choices for next week's episode gimmick. Are you sure? Like, are you fairly confident you know what number might make an appearance? Okay, just checking. They, and by they I mean the gimmicks, are shotgun 4 beers if there are 4 new donors. Shotgun 4 beers if there are 4 new patrons. Shotgun 4 beers if the last episode got 44 downloads. And our returning gimmick, do it like a wedding toast. There's a lot to process there. There's a lot to chew on. Take a moment. Think about what I've done to you. Yeah, definitely leveled up this week, haven't we? Let's review. That's number 1. Shotgun 4 beers if there are 4 new donors. And yes, that's 4 individual donors. And yes, those donations need to come in between the time that this episode you're listening to right now was released and the time the poll closes. Okay? Number 2, shotgun 4 beers if there are 4 new patrons. I will not count an existing patron moving to a different level. Brand new patrons, 4 of them. Tell your friends. Number 3, shotgun 4 beers if the last episode got 44 downloads. That's not impossible. It is rare. I have plenty of episodes that have that many downloads, but not in their first week. So tell your friends, hey, check out Fix My Car Cast, and maybe, just maybe, I have to shotgun 4 beers. And our returning gimmick number 4, do it like a wedding toast. Now, that one is the only guaranteed gimmick. The other 3, if the conditions are not met for that winning gimmick, there is no gimmick for that episode. Get to work, my babies. Get to work. Remember that any gimmick that gets just a single vote is eligible for a second chance in 6 weeks. Be sure to vote over on Patreon. The poll closes Thursday, May 16th at noon Eastern America time. Yeah, that's what's up. You got what it takes? Am I drinking 4 beers next week? Take a good long look in the mirror and go vote. All right, time for today's gimmick, which is shotgun 3 beers. Of course, gimmicks don't start until housekeeping is out of the way in case any of them prevent me from sharing vital information. But now, we are entering the Gimmick Zone. From this point on, gimmicks are active and everything is improvised. Today's topic comes to us from Adri for $7.50, and I've been asked to review the album Risque by Chic. Now, once again, I've moved outside like I always do when I have to shotgun beers for you people, but I'm a little better prepared. So first of all, I'm taking off my jacket because I'm getting sick of washing this every week, even though that's probably, roughly a good time frame to wash your jacket. I am still wearing wearing the Franklin Pierce party shirt. So that will be soaked with beer for a third time. I'm also wearing shorts. And of course, Jacqueline is back. That's right. My knife Jacqueline will be assisting in the shotgunning. Oh boy, aren't we going to have a fun time here today, folks. Now, if you're watching the video version, you may notice that something's missing, and that's beer. Well, it's not in my hands right now, but I assure you it will get here. Possibly against my will, possibly completely by surprise. Each beer will be provided to me somehow. Just trust me on this one, okay? So, we've got our knife, we're ready to go, and we've got our album to review. So, first of all, I do want to point out, Adri sponsored this episode for $7.50, which is incredible because it's our first fraction of a dollar donation. So I think I have to set a cap that you can't make it any lower than $5, because otherwise someone's going to give me like $1 and say that's 100 episodes, make each one a penny's worth of good. So we're going to go, let's see, $7.50, that's more than the $5 donation I got last week. So that means it needs to be a little more well-researched than Ada's request. Therefore, I've written down all the song titles, and that is the extent of the research I've done about the album. I have listened to it twice, once on a road trip and once before recording this. So, Chic, Risque, what is this album about? Well, it's about 30... Folks, there is a beer here, and I'm going to shotgun it right now. I feel like I should look at my notes before they get very wet. So, who's ready for some good times, which is, in fact, the first track on the album, Risque by Chic. And if you are just listening to the audio version, I am, as always, pegging the beer in the butt. Here we go. I have made the hole. That doesn't look safe. Let me try to make it a little safer. If what I'm doing for this show or with my life could possibly be described as safe, I am now about to shotgun the first beer. You may notice these are not tall boys, because fuck you, that's why. Here I go. Shotgun number 1. Zero spill. I just want that noted for the record. All right, so Good Times by Chic. So it is a disco album, and I am quite a fan of disco. Last week's album was more of an alternative album, not quite my scene, really enjoyed it. Check that episode out. Desperate Times, Desperate Measures by Adult Girl, a local band, and I really enjoyed it. In a general sense, I also enjoyed this record. Yeah, it is a disco record, and you probably know the first song from it, which is, I wrote down the titles, Good Times. You've probably heard Good Times even if you don't know it, because even if you've never listened to the song itself, you've probably heard Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang. You've probably also heard Paul's Boutique or Grandmaster Flash. Like, it is a song that has been sampled many, many, many times. As someone who dabbles in the hip-hop world, I've heard it sampled on 1,000 things. I feel like Good Times by Chic is probably a rite of passage for a lot of producers. And it's great. You know it. You know the song. You can hear it right now. Good Times. You know that one. So that's the standout track from the album, and it's real good. And as soon as I hit play on it, I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I know this song. I love this song. I did not recognize the album just from looking at the cover, but as soon as the first track came in, I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah. It's got a great groove. It bounces really well. There's a reason it's the big track off the album. Now, I will say this. I feel like the other tracks don't quite stand up to the breakout hit, which is a problem on a lot of pop albums. But yeah, I can't say there was another song that really stood out to me. Now, is that just the effect of having heard it a bunch of times? Maybe, maybe not. But there were some other gems on the album, so I do want to bring us to that. So Good Times, it's just a good standard disco beat. It's got a lot of, rhythms. It's just real good. It's real nice. I like it. Like it's got, the walking bass line. Like everybody's doing something. When disco's good, that's when it's good, is when like everybody's doing something. And yeah, Good Times is a great track. The second track on the album is more of a slow jam, and I wasn't expecting that. That is A Warm Summer Night, and I will say, listening to these tracks, it feels like each one is trying to hit a different mood, which is pretty standard for an album, but also kind of surprised me because if you're doing a disco record, you'd think you'd want to keep that energy going. So it really surprised me that the second track just kind of slows everything down. There's only 7 tracks, so we got to keep pace, folks. I've been handed a second beer from the mystery hand off screen. Thank you, mystery hand. And let's keep this going because this is good podcasting to all of you. Jacqueline is once again erect and ready to go. We are on beer number 2 of 3. Let's make that nice big hole. It's Miller time, baby. Yeah, I had Narragansett the last 2 episodes, but I have switched over to Miller now, Miller Lite specifically. I'm actually not a big beer drinker, though you wouldn't be able to tell from this podcast. Once again, trying to find the tab, it sucks. And bottoms up, folks, a warm summer night. Nothing, piece of cake. All right, so, what did I remember about that second track? It reminded me of a Jennifer Lopez song, but I forgot the name of it. So yeah, warm summer night, very slow jam. It's a nice mood, though. It's a good mood piece. Like, it really is made for listening to on a warm summer night. It's a little romantic, a little sexy, but it does really set the mood of, like, you know, just enjoying a warm summer night. And then, so the next 2 tracks kind of bring the tempo up a little more. That is My Feet Keep Dancing and My Forbidden Lover. Now, what's interesting is My Feet Keep Dancing, you can probably tell from the title, you know, it's about dancing. It's about having a good time on the dance floor. And it's very upbeat. It kind of goes back to that good times tempo and rhythm. So it's got that going on. I don't know why T-Rex Arms is my go-to disco dance, but there you go. But then what's interesting is My Forbidden Lover is also upbeat, and it's a really sad song. And I'm a fan of, like, when the lyrics are sad, but the music isn't. Like, I like that disconnect. Like, I love, like, just, like, intense, like, dance floor songs that have, like, really sad lyrics. And that's My Forbidden Lover. As near as I can tell, having only listened to this album twice, I think if I'm hearing it right, it is about, like, having a lover that doesn't want to be seen with you, like, which I was like, damn, that's pretty dark for a disco album, but, like, it makes sense. Like, most disco songs are about, like, heartbreak and whatnot, and, you know, you're dancing it out on the dance floor, so, like, that makes sense to me. I totally get that. My Feet Keep Dancing, is that the I think that's the one with a line about your brains are in your feet, which, okay. I think it's specifically like my mama said my brains are in my feet, and I was like, oh, your mama sounds like kind of a bitch. That's not a nice thing to say, but I get the sentiment. It's you know, you're just such a natural dancer, so that's what you default towards. All right, well, we're about halfway done here. Both the album and the episode. So yeah, My Forbidden Lover, I remember, okay, so if I have to complain about the album as a whole, I think my number 1 complaint is a little too repetitive. And I know, it's disco. They're keeping a groove going. There's a lot of those, like, again, good times, classic breakbeat where, like, everything drops out and then you just get that bass line that you probably know from, you know, Rapper's Delight. But yeah, like, Forbidden Lover, it was like, I was getting so sick of how many times they said Forbidden Lover. It's just this on a loop. My Forbidden Lover. And so it kind of wore me down. And that was kind of a problem I had with a lot of the tracks. Now, I get it. This is music that you put on, like when you're reviewing music, sometimes you have to think about, like, what is it for? And so, like, this is for filling a dance floor. This is, I'm assuming, for filling a roller disco. I feel like that's what this album was kind of designed for. And I wanted to build up to this, but I also wanted to get it out before I forgot. Is like, yeah, the moods are different. Like, it goes from slow jam to upbeat to groove to slow jam and back. And that's when I realized, like, it kind of has that feeling of, like, a night out at the roller disco where you, like, you know, you got the fast one, you got the slow one. Like, so I feel like it's the kind of album that you could do cover to cover, like, on a dance floor or, like, at a roller skating rink, and, like, it would be perfect for that. as like, let's just put this on and dance, I don't know about that. Like it's good how it weaves in and out of like different moods and different tempos, but I feel like when I'm listening to a quote unquote dance album, I expect it to be kind of consistent and like everything kind of hitting similar but not the same moods. And there's so many bands that you could look at in terms of like who does this really well. Like off the top of my head, Justice, I feel like, is really good at like being consistent, but like one song is more romantic and one song is more sad, but like it is still all kind of have the same like similar sound. That's the thing, is like keeping the sound consistent but changing the feel. And they do that, but like it's varied enough that it doesn't quite fit together as a whole album. Like that said, each individual track, I'm like, yeah, I can see like when I would be in the mood for this. But yeah, like I don't know if it quite comes together as a whole album. Of course, I haven't even gotten through all the songs. So then we come to a groove song, which is Can't Stand to Love You. And that one's also... All right, we're gonna take another break. This is three when this one's done. You know, folks, if you want to know how my week has been, spend some time Googling if ginger beer or root beer are technically beers. Spent some time going to multiple beverage outlets, trying to find out if I could find mini cans of beer. Found out that Miller, Bud, and Coors all make 8-ounce mini cans. So, you know, you might see some of those on next week's episode. All right, folks, this is number 3. For maybe all the irony points, I haven't spilled a drop as near as I can tell, which is nothing like how the last 2 episodes were. But here we go. 1, 2, 3. There was a drop. Really thought I could go for 3. Small drop, little drop, but there was a drop. Instant replay if you want to see it. All right, that's 3, and this is the last time I'll be drinking beer on this show, because it's not like it's going to happen for the next episode, right? Anyway, much like how I feel about my fans, I can't stand to love you. So this was more of a groove track. Now, I feel like the themes of some of these kind of blend together. And I think Can't Stand to Love You is just about like a difficult relationship, like someone that you're just like, look, I'm into you, but it's hard to date you, which, ouch. Okay, that third beer is really like, hey, I don't know if there's room at this party. I'm not saying get psyched to see me vomit live on the show, but yeah, that third one's kind of wondering where it lives right now. That third one. I'm sure the phantom hand that may or may not own this property is real excited to hear that news. But anyway, yeah, Can't Stand to Love You is just about like the difficulties of a relationship. And it's interesting, that's not a slow jam, and I'm trying hard not to just try to make disco music with my mouth, but I'm going to back up a little bit because I got some weird lighting going on. Yeah, so Can't Stand to Love You, that one was like a groove. Like, I feel like slow jam is like when the tempo goes way down, but groove is like when the bass line is still, you know, peppy. And I think that's what was going on with that one. I will fully admit some of these are kind of blurring together in my mind, and that was kind of a problem. Track number 6, Will You Cry When You Hear This Song? What was the chorus on that one? Will you cry when you hear this song? Will you admit that you were wrong? Will you cry? I really like those lyrics. Again, I don't think I mentioned this on the show, but I've mentioned it on like social media where like I've had a lot of friends say like, oh, you don't like sad music. And I'm like, no, that's not true. I just never care what a skinny white boy with a guitar has to say ever. I don't care if he's sad, happy, or whatever. I don't care what he has to say. And so like, but it's like, I like sad music though. Like there's a whole genre called the blues. Like it's sad, but it does have like more of a groove to it. And I have to say, like, if I'm gonna listen to sad music, this is the kind of thing I want to listen to, where it's like, yeah, they're sad, but like the bass line is kind of like moving with them. Like it's kind of moving through the emotions and the feelings. So like, I really liked that one because it was kind of like calling someone out for not being, you know, in touch enough with their emotions. But like the whole while, it's got this really solid killer groove underneath. So it's kind of like chugging along at like sort of like, you know, when you hear this, what's going to happen to you? Will you be properly devastated when you hear this song? I have no idea if these songs are about real people. I never know that when I'm, you know, listening to pop music, but and I did no research on this, so I don't know if this is about anyone for real, but I think that was probably the track that stood out the most as like, this seems very personal. Like, it kind of had that Carly Simon, you probably think this song's about you thing going on. I feel like I'm feeling the effects of what I've just done here today. I don't normally drink beer, and I definitely don't drink it this fast. If you feel like you were deprived by the Get Drunk episode, I don't know if I've drank more here than I did in that episode, but I don't know. Go back and listen to it. You tell me how much I'm rambling. Anyway, last track, and I swear to God, I think this song is about your lover not giving you an orgasm. It's called What About Me? And straight up, the lyrics are, you got yours, what about me? And I just can't unhear that. Yeah, that's about a shitty lover. Like that's the only thing the song can be about. I mean, obviously subtextually, but also obviously. And that one is also upbeat. Like, Will You Cry When You Hear This Song is a slow jam. But What About Me is like, the music is weirdly upbeat. Like, you could, I think it's the one song on the album where you could like tune the lyrics out and just have yourself a good dance. But like, yeah, it is about, hey, you suck, I do everything for you, you do nothing for me. Like, and that's what I always find so interesting about disco is like, at the end of the day, it is to dance. Like, some genres are for dancing, some are not. Disco is pretty definitively for dancing. So it's always interesting to me when it has that, like, you know, catchy rhythm, but also it's about terrible things. And whoever this guy is, hey, make Chic come. Because clearly it was important enough to write a whole song about it. So anyway, I'd say, not to make a pun, but listening to this album was good times. Yeah, I mean, I hate to say that the one you've already heard is probably the best one on the album, but yeah, and it's the first track, so it's kind of like, you know, ooh, strong out of the gate, what do they got left? And it's good. It's definitely good. But nothing really stuck out as much as Good Times. That is just such a solid groove. It's such a solid track. There's a reason it's been sampled 100,000 times. I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm reviewing the Incredible Bongo Band album. Like, well, yeah, we know what the good songs are because we've heard them in 1,000 hip hop songs. You know, sometimes you just need a good hook and that's it. But yeah, I like this album. I would recommend it. It's worth a listen. Obviously, if you're not into disco, it's probably not going to be your thing. But I enjoyed it very much. Thank you so much, Adri, for this suggestion. And I just realized I don't have a finale here. I've already drank all 3 beers, so I have nothing to go out on. As always, don't vote for 4. You can vote for 4 if you want. I don't care. Also, thank you, Dr. Payne, for being my unseen beer hand. This has been delightful. All right, well, I'm going to go be drunk now because I just drank 3 beers in 20 minutes. Thanks for your support, as always, everybody. And oh, you can see the one drop. There's the one drop I spilled. All right, good night, everybody.